Sausage. Hello, and welcome to another episode of First, the show where I, Mark Kuznez, gives you my first impressions. I'm giving them to you about a game right after I played it, hot off the presses. Again, first impressions, not my complete impressions, just my first impressions after I've played a game for an hour or two, maybe only 20 minutes. In this case, an hour and a half. And the game I'm going to be talking about for this here episode is Kungfu Kickball, a sports action game where you fight against another opponent, or maybe 2v2, and you're trying to score a goal against them by either punching or kicking the ball. That's right, you can kick the ball, but you can also punch it. It's not just Kung Fu Kickball, it's Kung Fu Punch Ball as well. But that just does not sound as good, does it? And the way you score is by hitting the ball against your opponent's big fat bell on their side of the screen. If you hit inside, still 1 point. It's all 1 point. You can modify it in the settings if you're playing a custom match and add 2 pointers, but default settings are that everything's 1 point. And you know what? You know what Kung Fu Kickball is? It's a good idea, I think, maybe. But in that hour and a half that I played, only against AI because there is no one playing this game. It came out a few weeks ago officially and on consoles and all that jazz, but it was in early access, I guess, on Steam. The all-time peak number of concurrent players, according to Steam charts, which I don't know how perfectly accurate it is, but the all-time peak for this game is 9. 9 players. When I tried playing online, the peak was 1 player. The 24-hour peak at the time of this recording is 1 player. At the time of this recording, there are 0 people playing this game. And this is, of course, only on Steam. The game does feature crossplay. I was playing on Xbox because that's where I got a code for it, and I failed to ever find a match with anyone online. So you are pretty much stuck playing against AI unless you convince a friend to buy a copy of this for $20, or you have a bunch of local friends who want to get together and play this. But I would halt you right there. I'd stop you right there. I'd say, hey, hold the phone there before you start dropping $20 here and there. Is it even worth those $20? Is it? I'd say no. I don't think it is. I played it for an hour and a half, again, only against AI. I'm sure it is better against real people, but playing against the AI on the easiest and medium difficulty, I didn't bother with the hard, I found the game incredibly boring because while mechanically it's pretty sound and it is responsive and feels good to control your character, when you're actually playing a game and trying to hit this ball and get the ball to go where you want it to go while also dealing with the opponent, it's just not that fun. It doesn't come together in a satisfying way. I think there are things that could have been done to make it better, maybe. For instance, I think it would have been a good idea for the ball to have some kind of stickiness to it so that when you interact with it, it somewhat magnetizes itself to you. And when you get hit, then that connection is lost and something like that. Because there are so many times when I was playing where both I and the AI would whiff and then we'd just be beating the shit out of each other. There were so many times where it wasn't even a sports game, it was just an action game. It was just a fighting game. And in those moments, I'm like, why didn't we just have a fighting game where we just beat each other up by kicking the ball at each other's faces instead of a game where we're trying to score on each other by hitting this giant bell? Because maybe that would have been a better game. And it's frustrating because when I played the tutorial, I was like, this feels pretty good. I'm excited to put these controls in practice and actually give this game a go. And then I gave it a go and I'm like, this just doesn't come together, I guess. It just happens sometimes. You got a good part here, a good part there, and then you put them together and it turns out to be poison. I don't want to say this game's poison. It's not like killing me or killing you or anyone. But it's just, I don't want to say it's wasted potential because maybe it can never be good. I don't know. I just look at Kungfu Kickball and I see similar games, whether it be Nidhogg, where you're doing the same type of 1v1 side-scrolling thing and trying to reach the other side, essentially. But that game's a lot more fun, whether playing against the AI or another person. You have games like Rocket League, which are more enjoyable. And Kungfu Kickball just never got its hooks in me. I kept trying and trying. I gave it an hour and a half. I spent a lot more time playing than I actually wanted to because I knew after 15 minutes how I felt about it. And I just kept trying to find the fun, trying to get to the point where everything started to click, and that never happened. There's not a lot there either. With the lack of any kind of online community, you are stuck again playing with friends locally or, getting your friend to buy the game and playing online with them in that case. Playing the arcade mode against AI, where you fight in like 6 matches or so, and then you're done. You see the credits, and you see the credits every time. You can't skip them. A tournament mode, where you can have up to 16 players going off against each other in a traditional tournament style setting, though you can't add AI teammates in that mode. And then custom, where you can pick and choose what you want to do. You can do 2v2 and all that jazz, which is weird in that you can add AI teammates in the custom mode and have a nice 2v2 match with an AI partner against 2 AI teammates. However, when you do that, the game, for whatever weird reason, decides that every AI character, both your teammate and the 2 opposing teammates, they're all going to be the same character. They'll be slightly different in terms of their color, but it's not as noticeable as you might think, and it just is a really weird choice. It's really weird. I was playing it and I'm like, you just picked the same character for everyone. So it was me as Krillin, but not Krillin because, they don't have the actual licenses for these characters, but there's Bruce Lee in it and a Kung Fu Panda, etc. And it was me as Krillin fighting against a team of 2 pandas with my teammate who was also a panda. And it was just a mess. And then there was another one where they were all the lady ninja, and I was just like, what is this? So there's just so many little things that I think would help to make it a better experience. But then there's the bigger thing of it just not being fun. I don't think any of the little changes I mentioned would make it a good experience. Better? Yes. The ball stickiness in particular, because I think that would be the one that affects gameplay most. It just ultimately is a game I really, really wanted to like. I was so excited to finally get around to playing it, and I just ended up being so disappointed. I think the fact that I spent an hour and a half playing it, even though I knew after 15 minutes, shows how much I wanted to like it and how much I tried to like it. But as much as I tried, as hard as I tried, I just couldn't find the fun in Kung Fu Kickball, and no one is more disappointed than I. And speaking of I, this is where I say bye-bye. This is the end of the episode. Anywho, that will do it for this here episode of First. I am, of course, once again, Mark Vizhnez. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you'd like to see me streaming games like Kung Fu Kickball, you can do so over at twitch.tv/PX Sausage. If you are watching this over on the YouTubes and you haven't already done so, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell, and all that jazz. It is very much appreciated. That is, again, youtube.com/Pixelated Sausage. Speaking of Pixelated Sausage, if you put a little dot and a com after that, you have my website. And if you go there, you can check out more stuff like this, as well as the art I'm making. If you see something you like, you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/PXS and support us that way. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye!